In the fascinating world of hormone biochemistry, the pancreas takes the spotlight as an important player, releasing insulin and glucagon finely to tune our blood sugar levels. These pancreatic hormones, like molecular conductors, coordinate a ballet of biochemical signals that affect how our cells use and store energy. In this exploration, we will uncover the behind the scene of how insulin and glucagon are made, how they are released, and how they team up to keep our blood sugar in check. We'll also explore what happens if hormone deficiency and the diagnosis, as well as the treatment. Pancreas. As we all know, it is a key role in hormone regulation. Where is it located? It is located inside your abdomen, just behind your stomach. This is the structure of pancreas. For this topic, we will focus more on
Islets of Langerhans.
which is a group of pancreatic cells secreting insulin and glucagon.
Okay, hello, my name is Laina. So I'll explain to you two types of our pancreatic function. So the first one is exocrine function and the second one is endocrine function. So the difference between these two functions is actually exocrine function happen when pancreas release enzyme into our common bile duct, and later the enzyme will be used to break down the food in our duodenum. So the example of the hormone release or enzyme release is amylase and lipase, and their function is to digest carbohydrate, fats, electrolytes, some mucus, and also proteins. And the next one is endocrine function. Endocrine function happen when the pancreas release insulin or glucagon to regulate our blood sugar levels. So there is three types of hormones released, which is glucagon, insulin, and also somatostatins. So insulin function to lower the blood sugar levels, glucagon to increase the blood sugar levels, and somatostatin actually inhibits glucagon and insulin secretion. Alright, next I'll be explaining to you about hormone produced and their functions. So the first one is insulin. Insulin is a hormone that released by beta islet cells in islets of Langerhans, and one of the few functions of insulin is to increase the membrane permeability of glucose, prevent excessive glucose oxidation in blood, lowering the glucose level in our blood, synthesis of glycogen in the liver and muscles, lowering the protein breakdown. Next is glucagon. Glucagon is a hormone that released by alpha islet cells, also in islets of Langerhans. It will break down glycogen in the liver and muscles, and it will also increase the glucose level in our blood. So basically, insulin and glucagon will work together to maintain our blood sugar by insulin converting glucose to glycogen and store as our energy storage in adipose, and glucagon will convert glycogen to glucose as our source of energy. Next is somatostatin. So somatostatin is a hormone that released by delta islet cells. So before this, I have explained to you that the function of somatostatin is to inhibit the secretions of glucose or secretions of glycogen and also insulins. But it also functions in gastrointestinal hormone secretions, because so basically somatostatins regulate the digestive process, like secretions of digestive enzymes or the movement of foods along our digestive tract, for example gastrin or secretin. So basically somatostatin contribute in to coordination and control if in our digestive function. So the last one is pancreatic polypeptide. Pancreatic polypeptide is also the unpopular hormones released by the pancreas. So pancreatic polypeptide released by pancreatic islet cells, or to be specific, F cells, and the functions of pancreatic polypeptide is to inhibit glycogenesis, which is the conversions of glycogen to glucose, and basically it regulate the blood sugar level in our blood.
Okay, so my name is Siti Fatih Omaira binti Fauzi. I will present about the hormone deficiency for the insulin and glucagon. It has four types, which is the first one is hyperglycemia, and the second one is hypoglycemia, and the third one is type 1 diabetes, and for the last one is type 2 diabetes. Okay, what is actually mean by hyperglycemia? Hyperglycemia happens when there is too much sugar in our blood. It is also called as high blood sugar or high blood glucose. This happens when our body has too little insulin, or if our body can't use insulin properly. It is also called as insulin resistance. Okay, so next move on to the hypoglycemia. What is actually hypoglycemia? Hypoglycemia happens when the level of sugar in our blood drops below the range that's healthy for us. It is also called low blood sugar or low blood glucose. Low blood glucose is common among people with type 1 diabetes and among people with type 2 diabetes who take insulin or some other diabetes medicine. Okay, the symptom for the high blood glucose or known as hyperglycemia, the first one is feeling very thirsty. Second one is feeling weak or tired. And the third one is losing weight. And the last one is blur vision. So for the hypoglycemia, the symptoms of the hypoglycemia is feeling hungry, feeling dizzy, shaking, feeling tired or weak, and the last one is feeling confused. Okay, so for the third point, which is type 1 diabetes. For the third point, which is type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, once known as insulin-dependent diabetes, is a chronic condition. In this condition, the pancreas makes little or no insulin. As we know, insulin is a hormone that the body uses to allow sugar to enter the cells to produce energy. Okay, so for the last one, which is type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a condition that happens because of a problem in the way that the body regulates and uses glucose as a fuel. This long-term condition results in too much sugar circulating in the blood. Eventually, high blood sugar levels can lead to disorders of the circulatory, nervous, and immune system.
Alright, now moving on to the treatments for insulin and glucagon related diseases. So, first up, we have the treatment for type 1 diabetes. type 1 diabetes is typically managed by insulin therapy since the pancreas doesn't produce insulin. And so this means that individuals with type 1 diabetes need external insulin. The way this is taken, sometimes they have multiple daily injections, but usually what we see in type 1 diabetics are insulin pumps. These insulin pumps are devices that provide a continuous supply of insulin, and it offers more flexibility in managing blood sugar. Now on to type 2 diabetes. Typically, this type of diabetes relies on the treatment of lifestyle changes, such as making dietary modifications, like focusing on a balanced diet, controlling carbohydrate intake, and managing portion sizes, taking less of glucose basically and sugars, fast-acting sugars, of the high glycemic index, so that their blood sugar doesn't spike up. Second, they could also promote a healthy lifestyle by regularly exercising and losing excess weight so that they can control their blood sugar. For type 2 diabetics, the medication involves something called metformin, and it's a tablet that is commonly prescribed as a first-line medication to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce glucose production in the liver. Now, how does metformin work to lower blood sugar levels? Basically, it helps lower blood sugar levels by reducing glucose production by inhibiting the liver from producing excessive glucose, especially during fasting periods. Second, it improves insulin sensitivity, as I just mentioned. It enhances the body's response to insulin, allowing cells to better utilize glucose. Since typically type 2 diabetics, the reason they have diabetes is because they have an insensitivity to insulin. Basically, their insulin doesn't work as well. And third, metformin helps to slow down glucose absorption. It may also reduce the absorption of glucose from the intestines. Other than lifestyle changes and the prescription of metformin, other medications also include insulin therapy, like in type 1 diabetes, meaning the patient would have regular shots of insulin into their bodies so that they can maintain their blood glucose level. It is important to keep in mind that metformin is usually the first medication prescribed to people for patients with type 2 diabetes, but as the disease progresses, they might have to take insulin instead to manage their blood glucose levels. There's also a class of oral medications that is commonly used to treat type 2 diabetes, and it's called sulfonylureas. And they basically work by stimulating the pancreas to release more insulin, which helps lower blood glucose levels. The way they work, they act on the beta cells in the pancreas and promote the release of insulin, and bind to specific receptors on the beta cells, which leads to an increase in insulin secretion.